another one, I'll stay with it. Yeah. You know, I didn't know what I was going to say. It's just like some of these seminars, I get up there and I don't have any idea what I'm going to say. It just happens. So just get ready. So,
You're ready.
the first time I saw the double R, I was 14 or 15, and I was walking Hots in the tow ring at the Los Alamitos racetrack, and we're walking along there, and I look over there, and there's this skinny guy like this, and this babe.
Oh my God, that was
and I'm walking along there, and I said, who's that over there? They said, oh, he's some hot shot horse trainer. I said, really? I said, he must be pretty good. He's got a pretty good looking babe with him. That's a true story. You know, they had friends, racehorse trainers, Chuck Talaferro and Bobby Mitchell, that they were the dogs, you know, DAWGS dogs at the quarter tracks at that time, and they were there. So time went by, and so there was a schoolmate of mine that used to ride with the double R, and her mom called one day, and I was in high school, and they said, hey, they need some help, and he was in the reserves at either Hunter Liggett or Camp Roberts up here, right here, and so they said, when he comes back for the weekend, will you come out there and talk to him? I said, sure. So I get out there, and there was a guy named Billy Freeman. It wasn't Billy Freeman.
Texas.
It wasn't Texas Billy Freeman. It wasn't the one over there. It was another one. So Billy Freeman is helping them, and they got a blindfold on this horse. And I'm looking and going, just exactly what is going on here? And he says, now just walk it up there, and when you get to the fence, say, whoa, and then when it hits the fence, stop. And I said, this is some kind of goddamn stuff going on here. So anyway, that's how it started. So and basically when I started, it was Carn, Big K. I think I'm the one who named you Big K. Yeah. The Big K. She was always about as good a supporter for the double R as you could get. Well, anyway, her and Ron and the double R's dad, Bud, they had the horse, and Patty Bello was one of the students.
The first one.
She was 12 or 13, huh?
Oh, I was like 9 or 10.
Well, anyway, she was one of the students, and we used to go to the Orange County
I
Fairgrounds.
was under 10 because my mother entered me in all those classes when he told her to go, and
You're not talking. Anybody who knows Patty, they gotta take that. So anyway, so we got going there, and actually, I brought him home a couple times back. He'd come down for the weekends, and anyway, Bud Richards was a great fellow. I just admired him, and so when the double R, when he finally came back and started training all the time, we got it on. It was pretty good, and I was kind of in between the Rod Kellys and Tims and all. I was in the middle. I wondered why he treated me like he did. You know, sometimes he wasn't. Sometimes because everything he did, I didn't take for gospel sometimes, and it kind of got him, and I'd say, really, is that right? And he'd say, I'll show you how to do it, and all this kind of stuff. So anyway, it was kind of a fun, but more of a, I guess looking back might have been a little bit of like a little brother and a big brother kind of deal, you know what I mean? So, but we got it on, and at that time there was a recession of some sort, and his business doubled. He got, it just doubled. Senji Bar came in there, and all those good horses, and this guy, the one thing that always impressed me about the double R is how competitive he was. It was just, I don't care if it's playing tiddlywinks, playing basketball. We used to play basketball. We get Joe King over there, all them big, And then we played basketball, and we couldn't stop playing basketball until he won. We were down to the line. I mean, it was like that. It was just like that. Baseball, it didn't matter until he won. I'd have a date. I'd say, hey, I gotta go. And he says, no, you gotta play no game. And so I'd have to let him win. So I would go. But always at a horse show, he was like a different person. He was a monster as far as getting up late, trying to make him win and win. It amazed me how good he was. And in those days, these horses didn't have all these buttons on them. We didn't know how any of them were bred. You know, I said, this one got papers? He said, hell, I don't know. If they had hair on it, we'd ride it. And I mean, in those days, if they'd stop one time like they do every time now, we'd have a party over them. And so, in the meantime, in my life, I met Bob because of Ronnie. I met Bobby Ingersoll. You know, I was judging with Bobby. I don't know. This was 10 years ago or something. We were going to Oklahoma and judge a roping or something. And I said, you know, when I first met you, I said, you just gotten married. And he goes, that was 50 years ago. How many years ago is it? How long have you been married?
62.
That was 12 years ago. He said we did, but Bobby came in, I remember it in the double R, and they were young bucks, you know, they were 20 something, and they were going, and they were the ones, and I was so glad to be a part of this whole deal, and I'm looking, and then there's the older group, the Clyde Kennedys, and Jimmy Williams, and Red Neal. I always thought Red Neal was new stuff, and all that kind of stuff. But these guys, you could tell they were leery of them, because if you wanted to win something, you had to get around a double R and Bobby Ingersoll, or your chances are good you wouldn't win. And later on, Les Vogt came into the scene, he and Greg Ward and all those guys. But when I first started, it was Ronnie Richards down south, Bobby Ingersoll up north, and they didn't just show cow horses. They didn't just do one thing. No, they did everything. They showed trail.
Polo.
Huh?
Polo.
I even got to show. I had to show polo too, because if he didn't want to ride it, guess who got the shot at it? This is really funny, and probably the only people that knew it or think it's funny is me and Rob and Tim and all that. But the double R would always, there used to be the weekend stock horse stakes, and they'd have $125 stock horse stakes. So the double R, he'd always win, but he'd show 4 horses. And he'd win on one, and when one of them wouldn't do so well, and he'd always come over, I said, here it comes. And he'd go, Bill, he said, you know, and usually at that time I would be in the top 5. I'd have a horse in the top 5. It was the low end one. And so he'd say, Bill, you know those people that own your horse? I said, yeah. He says, they want me to show up. I said, I understand completely. And he said, but I'm going to do you a favor. You know that horse that so-and-so, the one he got last on? I said, oh, I'm going to let you show that. And he'd do it time. It was kind of funny because it happened all the time, you know? And so I would just take him and I would just ride him because they were trained. They were already trained. All I'd do is I'd ride them 5 I'd ride them early in the morning. I'd just take them for a ride. They'd come back, I'd win second or third. You go, Bill, you know, those people want me to show up. That's all, and Ron telling him all day that was kind of the deal. But the main thing was how competitive he was. We used to go to the basketball games, and if the Lakers lost it, he was so mad all the way home. That's his team, and we had season ticket seats to the Lakers. They cost $8 a game. $8. And we wouldn't miss a game, did we? We'd go it didn't matter when you got in there, we'd go to the Laker game, and those were Jerry West days and Oscar Roberts, all those good guys. That's way back in the day. And then one time we go to life was just an event. It was just fun, you know. I mean, it was just fun. And so, where do we have the most fun besides this, you know? And so we go to the Olympic Stadium, and Jerry Quarry. I don't know, maybe some of you are too young, but he fought Muhammad Ali for the champion. Jerry Quarry had his 5th fight, and it's underneath the freeways in downtown LA. And we went with Al Garcia, and so we get down there. And I mean, it's kind of a spooky, bad kind of a deal. And then, so old Jerry Quarry, he beats this guy, and they're throwing silver dollars down there. And I said, we better get out of here. This is kind of dangerous. This is downtown. This is the hood. And so we get down here underneath the freeways, and there's 2 guys, and they got tire irons, and it's like two Spartacus. Don't you blow the whistle now. So they got Spartacus down there, and they're hitting it, and I'm thinking, Jesus, I've never seen it. I mean, there's about 100 people, and they're all looking at the cars, and these 2 guys, and one guy says, he's got a gun. And everybody you can't see anybody with the double horses. We better get out of here. We're going to get killed. I'm with you. Let's go. But that was part of the fun and the journey. You know, we had I think my horse training journey, I almost wished he wasn't as talented as he was, because he really didn't have to teach a horse like Harold Barron did or Red Neal did. He didn't have to teach him all that, because he could just show him and he'd win, you know? Bud had raised some mares, and so he raised some mares, and he gave me a San Fernando saddle to break these 2 mares. So one of them was Pappy's Dream, and the other one was Speedy Snip. And the Speedy Snip, probably one of the best horses I've ever ridden in my whole life to this day. So I get to ride it around there, and Bud and all that, and guess what? He says, you know, my dad, he kind of wants me to show that horse. I said, well, sure. Yeah, I knew that was coming. So he gets ready to go to there was a horse show downtown LA there. So anyway, huh? Not Great West.
He was Long Beach.
No, it wasn't any of them. Anyway, he said, I'm going to go show it. And I said, well, have you ever changed leads on this horse? This is about a week before he's going to show it. He said, you know, I don't think I have. I said, well, you better. And so he goes around there and he kicks her up there and he does this and he comes around there and he checks her back and he's, I'm good. He wins the Hackamore class the first time he ever showed her. They didn't work cows, but he did. He won the Hackamore class, and he'd never even worked a cow. He'd never changed the leads or anything. I thought, Jesus, how are you going to beat this dude? You know. So anyway, that was the compet. You know, I like I said, I wish he wasn't so talented. I probably would have learned more. But his eye for a horse, he was so gifted. He had these good youth riders, and they had people and that was part of our big deal then, was the youth. So they'd want little Johnny to beat, you know, old Jimmy over here. So they say, how are we going to beat him? He said, the War says, you got to get a better horse. That's how he got it, didn't he? And he'd go he'd find King J-Bar back there, won the reigning security. Next thing you know, King J-Bar is right there. He didn't tell anybody where he came from. He said, as soon as I fix his turnaround, he's going to be all right. I said, you know, but anyway, he had that good eye for the horse. And then I got to say, he could make every one of them better. Every one of them. Mona Lisa couldn't turn around very good.
Right.
I mean,
and she's Scotch.
She's Scotch, and he made her better. Every one of those. It was a dream. All of that was a lot of fun, and I've always had a fondness for the Richard family because of all that. I really have, and my life has evolved and it's been good. And now that I'm getting older, I look at life like the main part of it. How good was it? I mean, how good did you do and stuff like that. And, you know, when Tim says how many people are gonna be here, I said, you know, I don't really know because this goes way back to the day. You know, there's you, Murray was,
The 50s.
50, Patty Bell, I mean, she hadn't changed. But anyway, so the competitiveness and the part about picking the good horses, you know, and then he was so good with the youth that he could train them, they could win those middle class finals and all that, and it was just it was a fun ride for me. And it was an unforgettable time. It was, I smile every time I think about it, even though our life, you know, he doesn't like judging. You know, he's kind of a bad sport. so of course I've been on that part, and he's kind of, you know, he wants to tell me, but he kind of watches himself, you know, but it's been fun, and I've always appreciated that part and his input in my life, and so, I guess that's about, when I get done, I'm gonna say, I wish I'd have said this, but I forgot it, you know. But it's been, but I think when I heard about him and Bobby at the house and all that, I thought, how good does it get? He had a great, successful, did what he wanted to do life, you know, and even when he passed, it didn't hurt. I mean, he's not in some hospital or something. You know, it was just a charmed almost life part. You know, and so I said I was glad to know my folks taught me how to live and how to die. They lived a long time, and you know, that's life. You know, that's how life is. You know, we don't. As the trainer down here that we go to once a week and likes to kill me, he says, age and gravity are undefeated. They're undefeated. So I don't know about the gravity, but I know about age. So anyway, thank you for listening to my.